So we're looking at career opportunities in terms of what kind of animation and games gives you. I mean, everything for and the principles kind of work in 2D and 3D. So you've got 2D and 3D concept artists, 2D and 3D character artists, 2D and 3D animators, environment artists, creature artists. Look, we're looking at kind of making assets and props, whether that be used in animation, games, or even film. Pipeline supervisors, visual effects, what they refer to as VFX artists, technical artists, gameplay animators, FX artists, storyboard artists, and visual development artists. And again, with those, what we're looking for is your ability to kind of carry story and narrative as well. And that's part of the discussion throughout the course, is how do we tell tales? Part of animation and games is all about kind of narrative, and we try to build that into your career opportunities. So you're kind of, by doing the course, you become not just kind of technically adept, you also become adept in the fundamentals and the thinking and the processes that are linked to these careers. And again, we look at kind of involving ourselves with things such as the Animation Festival, Brighton Develop, and EGX, and all these outside elements that are going on that will help you kind of carry and see yourself within the business, and see it can allow you to connect with the business itself. We also have partnerships or potential partnerships with the Unreal Academy, Epic Games, TIGA, which is an organization that's set up through the government to promote the games industry, and then Grad for Games as well. And obviously there wasn't on enough room, but there's animation links there as well. We've had students go to Aardman Animation and kind of take workshops there under Mr. Park and his wonderful group of people he's got working with there, who've kind of worked closely with students in terms of kind of modeling and animation, which has been fantastic to be involved with. Moreover than that, obviously we like to kind of give the students a good experience at the college. We like to kind of consider ourselves, when the students come to us, we have some brilliant students, that we become a network of kind of critique and kind of peer-based working. We do try to, as much as possible, work in a way that we kind of allow ourselves to kind of support the students with their intentions and how they want to kind of answer the questions of the brief. Now, the briefs themselves will be split into, as we've seen previously, units, and the units themselves will be broken down into thematics, where we get you to think about what it is that you're doing and how you answer these questions and find solutions to them in either animation or games, or a link between the two, or whatever specialist pathway that you're working towards. So it's more of a kind of the fact that we want to support our students in kind of realizing and kind of building up their potential outcome and what it is that they want to do, and how they kind of build that professionalship within them, as to when they leave us, they kind of have a better idea of where they want to sit within the industry. Now, we have the benefits of a really good tutorial group. We've got specialisms from industry through some of the tutors. We have a really good kind of academic team backing us up. We have strong links and support throughout the college in terms of kind of learning. We have the fabrication labs that are able to kind of allow students even to kind of take something they've created in 3D and print it out and then utilize that. So it's anything you can kind of imagine, we try to facilitate as best as possible in terms of kind of creating solutions to your progress within the course itself. The flip side of this is we also we try to give, we understand you're investing 3 years with us, so we try to give you the best of experiences as well while we're with us. So it's really important that we kind of promote not only that you kind of your kind of learning within the course, but also the experiences you receive as well, such as, again, bringing in artists from outside, allowing you to converse with those, setting up events and outside interests for you to kind of be involved with, and even student-led organizations and kind of societies which kind of really enhance your experience at the college and make it a good and happy place to be. And if, as I say, if you do have any questions regarding any of the information, or whether this course is going to be right for you, and that's obviously what we want to find out, is the course is going to be the right one for you rather than the other way around, then please do ask. We've got so much support and so many people willing to help at the college that if you have any questions, please come to us. So this is a look at the spaces that we have here now. The way that we've set up the rooms is in a way that they reflect what's currently going on in the industry. I mean, you noticed Tim from Sony in the video, the starting video there, and one of the things he said when he came into to college is this looks exactly like the way we have it at work, where we have groups of tables where the students kind of work together in a workshop atmosphere. All the equipment that you need to use is there and ready for you. We are lucky enough to have the surface drawing tablets for everybody, and we have the computers are able to take all the current software or the industry software that for the students to be able to kind of produce work at an industry standard. We also have some wonderful lecture rooms as well, where we can do drawing, we can do live drawing, and we have some really good spaces where we can have discussions and crits as well. We have got a range of blue and green rooms for those who want to do the kind of stop motion animation and kind of really play with kind of animation with, you know, and have the high-tech equipment in there with some wonderful technical support as well. So must not forget our kind of our tech, what we call the tech dems or technical demonstrators, who again have links to industry. We have specific tech dems for specific projects that you want to work on or would be allowed to work on, everything from kind of 3D modeling in Unreal and Unity to stop motion animation, which is fantastic. And all this is kind of within one level of the college, so you don't have to move around too much. You're not having to kind of walk miles to get anywhere. It's all contained. We have a lovely, wonderful space there, which is kind of really good. And I can't wait to get back to be honest with you. In the meantime, everything we kind of produce is recorded. We have a use of a fantastic system where any lecture that's given can be seen remotely currently, and you are able to kind of track your work and kind of time kind of stamp your work in terms of kind of I didn't catch all that lecture, I can go back and watch that as well. So we have all that support as well available for you. So finally, yes, you can find us. We have a presence on Twitter, Instagram, and ArtStation. There's some wonderful stuff on our Instagram account, which is from students at PCA and projects they've been working on, everything from character design to little animated pieces. And let's say the ArtStation as well, which is kind of industry, an industry-based portfolio site, which has some wonderful work on it as well if you want to check that out. And I encourage you, if you have any questions, please get in contact with us. We're always happy to kind of hear from people and kind of and speak with them. In terms of opportunities for work and things like that, that is something we are working towards currently. There's a lot of kind of irons in the fire. We do try to match students up with things that they would be happy doing, so not kind of going off and doing something because it's available, but making sure that they're comfortable in the places they want to do and the things that they want to do. We are currently have generated some really strong contacts within the industry, not only in terms of digital work, but also in terms of analog work as well. So that's obviously something we can discuss at a later date with the students as well.
Thanks, Terry. My name's Johnny. And I'm going to talk about a brand new course, actually. So this is not a course that that is currently running with a kind of wealth of stuff to talk about what we're currently doing in the course, because it is brand new and it is looking to start running actually in September 2022. So in just over a year's time. The course itself is really exciting and innovative. One is something that we don't don't currently offer as a kind of specialism at Plymouth College of Art. So we're all really excited that we can start to introduce this kind of new field. In much the same way as animation and game arts, it follows a trajectory of kind of building foundational skills in the first year, moving on to kind of specializing those a little bit more and exploring different areas of the field in the second year, and through to your own kind of guided specialist practice, and situating yourself in the field and figuring out what you're going to go on to for a longer term as a career or as a practicing artist. And that's kind of what the third year is all about, is your magnum opus. And I think that pretty much goes for any of the courses that you do here. At its heart, it is about the kind of intersection of technology and artistic ideas. So in the way that animation and game arts is very heavily the use of technology as a tool to create work. This is the use of technology as a medium itself, as part of your artistic expression. So you would be interrogating from a very kind of theoretical point of view the how we use technology as a society and the implications of it, and creating effectively art projects as a way of exploring those ideas and developing skills in those technologies. So the first year really is, as I say, those foundational skills of learning some basic coding. So there's no expectation that you will have any experience with coding, but you may have picked up some things that without even realizing it, you might be somebody who's interested in modding games, or you might have done some kind of basic things in Scratch. So we'll be looking to help you to develop those skills with a eye to using that as a tool for creative expression. So maybe not in quite the same detail as you might be expected to learn if you were going to study computer science, for instance. This is about, it's really in service of the ideas. So being able to learn what you need in order to make those ideas become manifest. As well as those kind of virtual digital skills, we'd also be looking at doing some circuitry using technologies like Arduino. So that is a kind of little microcomputer that allows you to program some circuitry and read data from sensors and create outputs in sound and light and all sorts of things. So it's this kind of way of processing information, and really in algorithmic thinking, and studying that the kind of twin developments of technology and science and technology and art, and how those two things have intertwined throughout history and how they've influenced each other. And that's really where the students that might be interested in coming onto this course would kind of be situated in their thinking. As you can see on the slide in front of you, this is kind of presenting to you three of the key fields within the field of creative technologies. And in the second year, these are the three kind of key areas that we'd be exploring with you, and you would start to possibly gravitate towards one of these with kind of view to becoming more of a specialist in one of these in your third year. So those three kind of key areas are data visualization. So that's in any way kind of taking data and presenting it in a way that is possibly interactive, that is more understandable, more readable. Something that we're dealing with as a society quite a lot at the moment is we're having a lot of data presented to us about coronavirus, and often the way that that's presented can make it difficult for a lot of us to understand. And using these kind of artistic ideas and of the ability to interpret and how we visualize and present things to the world is one of the fields within creative technologies that will help you to develop. and to be able to kind of represent and manipulate this data, or process this data rather, to be able to present it in meaningful ways and interesting and beautiful ways. Responsive and immersive environments. So this could include things like virtual and augmented reality. Lots of the technologies for which we have the capability in college already, before even starting this course. Terry's course that he was just talking about is also engaged with this sort of technology, particularly the VR headsets. But we'd be looking to use a lot more AR experiences, and also partnering with or making use of and kind of encouraging students to work in collaboration with the new immersive dome that Real Ideas organisation are just opening in Devonport in Plymouth. So it's very close to the college, and they are opening up what they call the marketplace, which includes a 360-degree immersive dome, the biggest one in Europe, and we'll be looking to make use of that for students who want to kind of engage with responsive and immersive and interactive environments. And the third field is making use of internet technology and exploring how we connect in this kind of contemporary world of global connections over the internet, and how those kind of web technologies like HTML and JavaScript and server-side technologies allow us to open up all sorts of kind of collaborative and networked possibilities with the way that we work. Can we move on to the next slide, please, Becky? So I kind of already mentioned some of the technology that we have already in house. A number of Vive headsets and Oculus headsets, so for VR use. So those are currently mostly used for plugging in environments that have been created in Unreal, so that you can experience the three-dimensional environment that you've built in virtual reality. So this course would be aiming to use that same technology for the, like I say, the kind of the interrogation of the technology itself. So making artistic statements. I'd say it's more on kind of fine art end of application, of practice, than the more commercial end that you might see in something like animation and games. Use of that technology. We will also mention kind of Arduino as circuitry, and that would be a kind of introduction to that, and into the second year and into the third year, anybody who's specializing in that kind of thing may want to scale that up into larger circuitry and taking big inputs and making grand outputs, possibly in partnership with some of the kind of events that Terry was talking about, like Illuminate. So it could be to do with projections as a way of output, but it's really about all that algorithmic thinking of capturing data in some way, inputting that data, manipulating it, processing it, doing some interesting stuff with it, and then outputting it in beautiful and innovative and exciting ways. I don't know if we have any more slides, but we also will have kind of heavy involvement from the head of the School of Art, which encompasses all of the three courses that we're talking about here in this session, and more besides. Stephanie Owens, who is the head of the school and actually has her own background in this kind of field, and as a result has lots of contacts within that field, and in fact lots of former students of hers are now kind of leading practitioners in the field of creative technology. So we have the opportunity to have a lot of really well respected and experienced people come in as guest speakers for very particular things throughout the course. My own personal background is in more of a technical position. I was a professional programmer for about 8 years before I came into education. And my undergraduate degree is in digital art and digital technology, so that it's in a very similar vein to what we're talking about in this degree. With kind of your future progressions in mind and what kind of careers this might lead to, there are a list of things on the slide in front of you there, things like web designers, and that's something that I went on to use the skills I'd developed through artistic expression in a more commercial practice of web design and web development. But there are all sorts of things that you could do. It could be about app development. It could be immersive environments, working with museums. More and more museum and art gallery exhibitions are interactive and immersive. And data visualization is an ever-growing field of mass importance across the world. But besides these things, actually, the innovative nature of the course means that really what you will end up doing for a career is very likely not defined or something that exists right now. The nature of technological development and the speed that sort of happens means that you will be kind of forging your own future in a lot of ways. If we were looking kind of 10 years ago, the idea of being a professional YouTuber wasn't really a thing. So these kind of new career paths spring up and are actually created by people doing innovative courses like this. And so while there are lots of fields out there, lots of kind of roles that you could go into that currently exist, it's very likely that you'll be inventing something new yourself. I think I'll hand over to Dom. I think I've probably taken up enough of your time. But if you do want to get in touch with us, then you can get in touch through the admissions, as we're a new course. We don't have our own kind of online presence quite like animation and games do just yet. But yeah, get in touch with us through the college.
Thanks very much, Johnny. That was excellent. It's really like Johnny was just saying there. The Sound Arts course is a brand new course that is going to be running actually from September 2021 this year. So this is a great opportunity to think about, particularly for sound. So hi everyone, so my name's Dominic. I currently teach on the sound film course and digital media production, and there are sort of my areas are kind of in sound in different facets. I'm a composer and sound designer and musician, and also worked in the digital media industry as well. So the sound art course is the sort of course philosophy is about sort of thinking and making. It's heavily production based, but there is sort of a real defined area of thinking more in depth about the sort of knowledge and awareness of sound, from sound ecology and thinking about the physical properties of sounds, as well as the sort of synthetic production values through objects, specialized sound and live performance. So it really sort of feeds into the wider field of sound practice that really radiates quite nicely with what Terry was talking about with animation, and Johnny with creative technologies as well. So there is a lot of sort of similar kind of pathways in terms of how sound, or the sort of plastic reality of sound, could feed into other facets and other areas of the college. So the Sound Arts is sort of based in the sort of arts and media school. So again, this course is sort of brand new dynamic course, which will give you the opportunity to explore sound in all its forms as a creative artistic practice within a sort of a critical and historical context. So you know, to really think about the essence of sound. It's obviously something that we don't see, but we have so many common connections with it through our everyday life, listening to music, and more so with actually defining it with space and place. So, you know, locality of space and actually thinking about sound in that context. But really, this course allows you to associate that with the idea of materiality and looking at sound and exploring it through the sort of physical properties that it conjures. So using different shapes and manipulations and processes through that. So really, it's sort of getting you really immersed in the sort of cultural sort of evolution of sound, and really thinking about it from a critical listening perspective, all the way, like I said at the beginning, about production. So really sort of using different creative methods and mediums, and developing sort of understanding through objects and software and live aspects of creating. Sorry, could we just go to the next slide? Oh, you've jumped ahead. Sorry, if you could go back to the Walter Murch quote, that's great, thank you. So, you know, just to sort of quote one of the most famous sort of editors and sound designers in the film industry, and Walter Murch has come up with many different concepts and ideas about sound, not just for film, but just in terms of his approach to sound design particularly. He has this quote here, which is hearing is one of our first senses to be switched on 4.5 months after we're conceived, and for the rest of our time in the womb, we are pickled in a rich brine of sound, which sounds delightful, that permeates and nourishes our developing consciousness. So, you know, the idea of sound, like I said, you know, the idea that is we're so used to going through it, or going through the motions of it in an everyday sense, is a sense that we pick up very, very early on. So, you know, this quote from Walter Murch really gives us a sort of essence of where what sound and the impact of sound, and the idea that we don't see it, but we feel it, and we immerse it, and we immerse ourselves around it all of the time. So yeah, if we could just go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this is sort of situated, like I said, within arts and media practice, and like I said, it's sort of sound is very much built in the arts and media faculty, but it's also, like I said, there's opportunity to work in all different capacities and working alongside other courses. So it's really sort of, like I said, associated with fine art, and very much this sort of back to basics approach of kind of thinking about the emphasis on experimentation and using locality and using materials, really immersing yourself in all aspects of sound through listening, field recording, editing, playing, and looking at sort of adverse sort of different types of composition, experimentation, exhibitioning, and performing as well. So working independently and collaboratively with your peers and people outside of the sphere of college as well. So really thinking about the broad range of topics and sound through sound synthesis and acoustics and music composition and creating instruments as well. So it enables you to really think of it in a sort of 360 context really of the properties and relationships with sound. So analyzing music and musical interfaces and also looking at audio manipulation software. So there's a great opportunity to look at technologies and to think about the physicality of sound through digital manipulation. So using a broad range of audio software that we have available at the college. So we have several sound suites with full mixing gear. We have Mac suites. We have Logic, we have the Adobe suite, but we also have things like Max MSP specialist sound design software that enables sound creators to create visual coded programming language as well, to actually make sound synthesis and to create their own patches and create their own presets, and to really delve under the bonnet of kind of being able to manipulate sound in also physical sense, that we've got analog synthesizers as well as hardware equipment as well as software available for you. So yeah, the course, like I said, is mainly practice based, but it allows you to sort of learn the sort of theoretical and conceptual language, but also the sort of historic factors of sounds as well, and looking at sort of alternative methods and forms of practice, and thinking about, particularly, it lends quite nicely to some of the facets of sort of animation, from Foley art, sound art for games, but also for film, thinking about sound scoring and sound telling. The idea that music isn't just something that's just sort of slapped on at the end of the making of a film. It challenges very on this perception of storytelling, and it should be not just an accompaniment, but something that is based really on around the idea stages as well. So it is really thinking about that sort of sound arts. In some ways could sound quite niche, but actually it's amalgamation of different learning processes and techniques, and thinking about your critical thinking within that as well. Could we just move along to the next slide? Thank you. So what will I do? So I sort of, in this essence, talking about some of the modules or units as they're going to be focused on. So year one really is about sort of learning the tools really. So using materials and methods, learning a whole wide range of different tools and procedures, and thinking about how we give you lots of problems and solutions, but also we think about how you're building portfolioing through different practice and techniques as well, whether it's explorations, like I said, from software, but also from actual rooms and acoustics, and thinking about different forms of engagement and practice through virtual and physical properties as well. So really, the sort of first year is a sort of amalgamation of different custom kind of techniques and workshops and processes that you will start from that sound journey, and a bit of a voyage of discovery really. So it's almost creating a palette of different experiences through physical and software-based manipulation. So again, it's really like learning about the environments and specifics, but also allowing you to sort of create and think about unconventional methods as well. So in your second year, it's about obviously thinking more deeply about the processes, but also sort of global challenges as well. So thinking about more contextually about your work. So maybe in your second year, you're working on a project which is about a sort of oral history project, for an example, and it's challenging the perception of just not the sound, but it's also getting people engaged with conversations around, a real sort of voice around something that's going on at the moment. So it could be COVID related, or it could be about a particular group of people that have been struggling possibly at this time, and you're trying to create a sort of, like I said, an oral history project, for an example, or some sort of an immersive experience that gives a voice, or it gives an identity to that. So, the second year really is about us sort of, obviously challenging or presenting projects and concepts, but you actually interrogating those much more fluidly throughout that. So it's really about you sort of raising up to that challenge really. So ideas and audiences, so that's about building sort of relationships between putting on installations. It could not necessarily be in the college, it could be in an art gallery, it could be in a completely unconventional performance space. It could be somewhere on the Hoe, for example, in Plymouth, or it could be somewhere further afield. So it's about really, again, sort of thinking the opposites of your practice and how that can best form in. So challenging your practice, thinking about audience reception. It could be in a digital realm, it could be a podcast, it could be a Twitch live feed, for example, or a video streaming an event as well. So again, there's lots of opportunity to work sort of independently through that. And then in your third year, really, it's about sort of really working independently throughout your work. So really thinking about your research and development, bridging a lot of the expansive work that you've had previously within your modules, giving you opportunity to build your skills, and experimentations and building from that. So bolstering really what you've done previously, but amalgamating that into a final major project, which would be a bespoke project that you would work towards and you would liaise with us about. So it's kind of, again, thinking about the forms of sound that might have relation to media practices. It could be installations, actually building physical instruments as well, and sort of really enhancing your toolbox of development and practice and resources, and using the college, like Terry and Johnny have previously talked about. It enables you to sort of think deeply about cross collaboration with the Fab Lab, building 3D printed objects for your sounds, or it could be something more digital led, so working closely with the creative technologies courses on the VR technologies, and looking at sort of immersive 3D or sound specific sort of areas that you're thinking about. Then on top of that, obviously there's a module that is publication, which is might sound kind of self-explanatory, but it in previously it's always been sort of in the form of a dissertation, but actually this particular new unit is going to give you the opportunity to work on articles. So it could be an article or a video essay for a contemporary journal magazine. So it could be something like Electronic Sounds magazine. It could be something like the Wire magazine, which is a very well-known contemporary music magazine. So it could be about an article about some innovation in something like Sound on Sound as well. So it could be more about the technical publication. So it could be about a new app or a new plugin or something that you've been experimenting with or you're testing out at the moment, and you want to create some sort of article, a journal to talk about that. So lots of opportunities there to really like think about your written practice, and sort of we're encouraging you to think about how you might interrogate that within your third year. And then again, with sort of thinking about things like independent projects and experimentation, there is obviously a lot of emphasis in the first, second, and first year is about learning your trade. But again, in your final year, it's also about thinking about your career as well. So actually thinking about how sound is going to support your artistic and career path experience as well. So this could be in a wide different capacity. So it could be, you know, thinking in a much more entrepreneurial sense. It could be about app technologies. It could be about AI technology. It could be, again, working in galleries, in contemporary galleries, or in more of a technical support role. So it could be working in a live sound capacity at maybe a music venue or at a radio station, or it could be, you know, working as a sound engineer in a live or a theatre capacity as well. So lots of sort of, like I said, opportunities, and with this course particularly to sort of bend in and lean into other areas, or it could be even sound design for games. So lots of different things to sort of think about, and lots of opportunities, and the Voyage of Sound really gives you a real broad palette. Yeah, I think just going on to the next slide, thank you. So lots of opportunities for your career there to think about sound design, composing, contemporary artists. So again, thinking about the amalgamation, again, working across from film as well. So thinking about sound design, but also thinking about the importance and the concepts of that as well. Instrument making, so interface making as well. So production of noise making objects. Interestingly enough, we have had a technician or a few technicians that are working on a few sort of experimental music instruments at the minute. So they've been using raw materials around the college to make all sorts of weird things, from drone boxes to drums with contact mics in. So Rusty Cleve, who's one of our main technicians in the media department, has created some of these wild and quite explorative processes of making experimental instruments and yeah, so that's a kind of quite an interesting and fascinating explorative aspect of materiality with sound in there. And also what I'm going to do is just put a link to this in the chat so people can actually, talking about sound, want to listen to it as well. So there's some videos in there to give you a sense of that explorative process using materials and sounds. So yeah, so finally, just to very quickly, because I'm conscious of time, is to just sort of think, also, this is a brand new course, but it's an opportunity to, like I said, to think about those areas of practice. In terms of your course, you'll be able to work with a whole list of industry experts and work with local organisations like art stations. So there's Totnes Radio, Arts Radio in Totnes, and there's galleries like such as Cast, and there's obviously the Box, which I'm sure most people are familiar with. They have a whole range and archive of film and sound materials, and particularly lots of our film students are kind of working on documentary materials, and there's going to be lots of opportunities to work with that. We also have the Phoenix up in Exeter as well. So there's Phonic FM, which is a local radio station. There's lots of engineers and lots of presenters. And further afield, there's things like Residence FM as well, which is a London-based FM radio station as well. So lots of different opportunities there. And again, kind of mapping nicely with sort of the Luminate live light festival that Johnny was talking about as well. There's opportunities as well for sound, and particularly with like immersive live performances and opportunities for you on this course to kind of get embraced with that. And there's also the Plymouth Art Weekender, so lots of artists that interrogate different spaces and look at their practices and performances as well. So yeah, lots of different facets and different opportunities within the Sounds Arts course, and yeah, that's where I kind of finish up on. So if there's any questions about the Sound Arts course, there's just this page as well. We've got a link to course specifics. We've also got an Instagram page, which we've got all these videos that we talked about from the sound experimentation and materials, or you can email us at soundarts@pca.ac.uk, and feel free to put any questions in the chat box if you wish to speak to us at any point. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Dom. So we've just got a few more slides here and move on to any questions, just so everyone's aware that there's opportunities to study abroad and sandwich years. And also at PCA, we do also have extended BA routes for anybody who's wanted to stay on for a 4th year route. I believe you can find out more about them later on in the open day schedule. So has anybody got any questions for us? We did have one in the chat box from Dias, who asked if there'd be any opportunities for work experience. I believe that was asked during animation games.
Yeah, yes, certainly. I can pick that one up for you, Becky. What we try to do in terms of outside contact and work opportunities is we try to layer that in terms of your experience. As you go through the 1st, 2nd and 3rd year, the opportunities are there, grow in terms of that. So not only do we bring events into the college, so say we mentioned before the Illuminate one, where we give students the opportunity to get involved in almost a protected environment where they're with their peers and they have the college themselves to kind of back them up and steer their kind of interactions with that. We also, as we progress through the years, by the time you're reaching a 3rd year, where professional practice and kind of networking becomes part of the entirety of that 3rd year, where you're thinking about your career once you leave, is then we do kind of encourage the kind of the integration of kind of getting internships or arranging some kind of working experience. I do know that there's plans in the pipeline currently. I don't want to talk too much about it, but there's plans in the pipeline currently to work on some sort of lab-based structure where we have people from industry coming in and kind of working with the students on projects as well. So we try to kind of create a protective environment, so you're not kind of shoved out the door on your own and say, you've got to go and work for this company. We try to do it in a way that you become more attuned to working on external projects and more attuned to working with people as you progress through the 3 years of the course. Right, Becky. Also, we have, if you want to check out the College website and the news feed, we have had a couple of our animation students, or animation and game students, actually involved in external projects and winning competitions as well. So it might be worth kind of checking that out to see the kinds of things that they've been involved in. We've had some an animation student involved in creating an animation for a music video. We've also had students involved in other external projects as well, which, as I say, it's really worth kind of checking out. There's some kind of really nice work going on at the college at the moment in terms of external projects.